Yo, what is up, YouTube? It's IFM here, back again, bringing you more World Cup of Pokemon action. Today we have an advanced OU match. As I break in the new microphone, we got McMeghan, proving once again that Belgium is in fact a region of France, facing off against Cyberodin of Team Latin America. And this is going to be a really exciting match. Both are high-level advanced players. France is sitting just above 500 right now, as the Latin America team is not sitting too pretty, facing I think a -4 deficit going into this game in terms of matches, so they need to start pulling out some victories left and right to get themselves back in contention for a playoff spot. But without further ado, we're going to jump into this match. It's a little bit of a long one, so bear with me, but it's super exciting and very close until the end. And as you can see, Cyberodin has decided to lead with the Fortress against the Swampert. Swampert's going to have to switch out against that. Doesn't want to be getting any spikes up against it. And Cyberodin's going to read that, make the double switch into Celebi, who's going to force out the switch of Starmie. Going to go for a Leech Seed against the opposing Celebi. Obviously, not super important that it missed it. It wouldn't have any effect anyways. And McMeghan reveals that it's in fact a Swords Dance Celebi. Quite an interesting set from him. Going to go for the Shadow Ball against the Suicune. And not going to do a whole lot of damage there. Definitely reading that this is some sort of defensive Coon set. Does roar out the Celebi into the Skarmory. And Skarmory's going to go for spikes as Fortress comes in and sets up a layer of its own. And now McMeghan's just going to take the opportunity to Whirlwind out the Fortress. And Blissey's going to be sent back in against the Skarmory. Skarmory's going to be switching out now because it can't really do much to the Blissey. He doesn't want to risk anything there either. And he's just going to send in his Starmie to attempt to rapid spin against this Blissey and get the spikes off his side of the field. Blissey's going to take the opportunity, though, to set up a Toxic on that Starmie. That's obviously not going to be sticking around for too long, as Starmie does have Natural Cure. So Megan's just going to be able to switch that out, get rid of the Toxic on it, send in a Celebi against Cyberodin's Fortress, coming back once again, trying to get a little bit more hazards up on McMeghan's side of the field. Now, he doesn't want to risk a double into Magneton or anything like that, so he's just going to switch into Suicune, which is pretty safe against the Swords Dance Celebi, as it's running a massive amount of defense. But those Shadow Balls are going to start wearing it down over time. As each time it's coming in, it's taking around 22% damage. So if this is some sort of set that does lack rest, which most likely it is not, but either way, if you combine the hazard damage with the damage from those Shadow Balls, it's going to be quite important for Megan to rack up a little bit of damage on that Suicune. So Celebi's in. As the Blissey comes in, forces the Blissey out, goes for a Swords Dance as Suicune comes back in once again. So as you can see, this Suicune's getting worn down over the course of this match, as every time it's switching in, it's taking spikes damage, it's taking a +2 Shadow Ball from the Celebi. So Cyberodin's going to really have to change up his method of attack soon if he doesn't want to risk dying to something like a critical hit. So a little bit of switching goes on there. Suicune gets some roars off, gets some leftovers recovery going, which is really nice for it. But once again, Celebi comes in, sets up a Swords Dance, but this time Suicune's already in, so it's going to be able to roar it out quite easily, though it doesn't want to risk any sort of status there from Blissey. So he's just going to switch out into his own Blissey, going to take a Seismic Toss, going to do a massive 100 HP damage there. Obviously it doesn't mean shit, and the Toxic on Blissey is not going to matter a whole lot, as it does have Natural Cure, but it's going to force Cyberodin to start switching into spikes a couple more times during this match. So Blissey for McMeghan is going to come out, and he's going to predict a Fortress switch in and reveal the Magneton. And unfortunately, though, Cyberodin does not decide to go into his Fortress right there. It's going to be really key later on in the match to see if McMeghan's going to be able to get his Magneton in on that Fortress, going to be able to trap it and kill it with a Hidden Power Fire, because if he's able to do that, it's going to be very easy for him to maintain the hazard control over this match. And he's just going to go for another double switch into Magneton there, once again trying to catch it on the switch in, and Cyberodin makes a ballsy as fuck play there. Switches his Fortress into the Magneton. Obviously, he was threatening the Magneton with his Aerodactyl that turn, so he didn't have a whole lot to risk. But Skarmory's just going to be able to Whirlwind out the Fortress as Brofist comes in. Goes for a Focus Punch on the Skarmory, not doing a whole lot there. Obviously predicting the Blissey switch in or something like that. But it's not going to be a Blissey. Going to go for an Ice Punch the second time around, as he has revealed the Focus Punch. So now he's expecting McMeghan to maybe switch in the Celebi into this Gengar to try to deal with it, and goes for another round of Ice Punches there. Going to take the Celebi down to about 69% health, and then hit it with a Hypnosis and get a little bit of momentum on his side. He's going to be forcing more switches, and this Gengar is super dangerous the rest of this game, as McMeghan doesn't have the best options to deal with it, as now he's going to be able to fire off another Hypnosis into the Swampert and put that to sleep. So now he's sitting with a sleeping Swampert, a Blissey that's going to take huge damage from the Focus Punches, a Magneton that's going to take damage from the Focus Punches, and then Celebi with the Ice Punch, obviously, and then if he's running Thunderbolt, Starmie and Skarmory aren't going to be great switches into the Gengar either. So with a little bit of good predictions from Cyberodin, he's going to be able to deal massive damage with that Gengar later on in the match. So Celebi comes in, forces the Blissey out, and it's going to get a Leech Seed off onto the Magneton as McMeghan was once again predicting something like the Fortress to come in, though Magneton does do very decently against the Celebi, and now Sabola, the Ebola version of Celebi, gets the Psychic off on McMeghan Celebi. It takes us down to 69% health, but he reveals the Recover here. So right now it's got a set of Recover, Shadow Ball, and Swords Dance. And it doesn't look like he has anything to pass to, so it's most likely not going to be a Baton Pass Celebi. And its coverage move is most likely going to be something like Hidden Power Fighting. So Skarmory forces the Aerodactyl out once again, and Gengar gets in for free one more time. Though Gengar is not going to be able to stay in against Magneton too well, so he's going to be forced to just switch out to Blissey. Force the Magneton to switch out as well. Not really. It's like a double switch from McMeghan. He's just trying to get more advantage on his side of the field. And Celebi this time is going to go for the Swords Dance as Blissey throws out the Toxic, which is going to miss. So now McMeghan's sitting with a 100% Celebi, and he reveals the Hidden Power Fighting there, and that's the first kill in the match. Going to be able to take down the Blissey, get a quick 6-5 advantage on the board, and now Fortress is just going to go into that Celebi, fire off the Rapid Spin, because it's not going to be taking a whole lot from either a Shadow Ball or a Hidden Power Fighting. As you can see, it's quite defensively EV'd, and as a result, able to get the decently safe Rapid Spin off, though you're obviously risking a Magneton coming in on that and just cleaning you up and maintaining the hazard advantage for the rest of the game for McMeghan. So Cyberodin's going to have to play really, really smart with his Fortress for the rest of this game, because if that goes down, I think it's a pretty locked up victory for McMeghan, depending on how things play out. So he's just going to have to play super safe with that, though he does switch the Fortress in once again on this Skarmory, as Skarmory's not going to be doing a whole lot, and McMeghan decides this time around we're not going to take a risk of an Earthquake from that Magneton. Just going to Whirlwind it out, get a little bit of hazards damage up, and hope that whatever switches in isn't able to deal with the Skarmory as it isn't, as the Sabola comes in. So that's another layer of spikes on Cyberodin's side of the field. And now Skarmory, is going to take the opportunity to switch out of this Celebi. Doesn't want to take any kind of things like a Hidden Power Fire or something like that. And Celebi is just going to throw out the Psychic into the opposing Celebi, and gets a special defense drop, which is pretty critical. And the Aerodactyl is going to come out. Might have been for the first time, not entirely sure, and it's going to threaten out the Magneton once again. And now it's just going to be the Swampert switching in. It's asleep, so it's not going to be threatening this Aerodactyl at all, though it is able to scout the move. Probably a Choice Band Aerodactyl, as you can see from that damage on the Swampert, so he's going to switch out, expecting the Skarmory switch in, so he's going to send his own Celebi in to deal with that. And now the opposing Celebi is going to force Cyberodin Celebi out, and now it's a Shadow Ball critical hit on the Aerodactyl. He was trying to get a little bit of an advantage going with the Aerodactyl, but taking that critical hit is massive, because now it means that he can only switch that in one more time into the Celebi and threaten it out with a Hidden Power Flying, as it shows on that Skarmory. So later on in the match, if you can get a little more chip damage on the Aerodactyl, this Celebi could be doing a lot of damage for McMeghan, potentially sweep, though we have seen the Roar Suicune. So that's not entirely in the books yet. And now Magneton's going to come in on the Celebi, going to throw off a Hidden Power Fire, revealing that right there. Obviously could be Hidden Power Ice too, but most likely a Hidden Power Fire. Then gets the Thunder Wave off on the Celebi as it goes for the Recover, and that's going to be obviously going to lose the Paralysis when it switches out, but that's going to be pretty key for right now, as McMeghan sends in the Celebi once again to start threatening Cyberodin's team. And right now it's really looking like McMeghan's avenue for victory is going to be this Celebi, as Cyberodin doesn't have a whole lot that's going to be able to deal with it outside of just phasing it repeatedly with Suicune. So if McMeghan's able to get it in sort of a last mon situation, or just is able to take down the Suicune later on in the match with a combination of hazard damage and a couple smart switches, that Celebi is going to be doing massive work. So Skarmory just starts whirlwinding around, is going to try to get hazard damage up on Cyberodin's team, start chipping it a little bit more, as Fortress comes in once again. And this time he is going to predict the Magneton switch in, going to go for the Earthquake, and is going to hit the Starmie instead. And if he's able to take down the Magneton as well, that's going to be pretty much free reign for Fortress to set up spikes, on Blissey, on Swampert, on Skarmory, etc. So it's going to be really key that McMeghan doesn't accidentally switch his Magneton into something like an Earthquake, as we just see the Starmie and the Fortress battle it out right there. Now, Starmie's going to go for the Rapid Spin as Celebi comes in once again, and Celebi's just going to start throwing out a little bit of chip damage, though that Blissey doesn't really care at all about anything that Celebi's going to be wanting to throw out. And Suicune comes in on the Blissey and is able to get one turn of Leftovers recovery as Celebi comes right back in, takes a Seismic Toss, doesn't do anything, and as you can tell from the Seismic Toss damage, that is full HP Celebi, though that's something we probably already expected. And the Ice Beam is going to do a considerable amount of damage, though. It does roll, I think that was a 48%, might have been 42, something around there. But either way, a significant amount of damage on that Celebi, though it's going to help recover it off with that Leech Seed. So now it's Suicune in on the Magneton, and Suicune doesn't want to be taking anything that Magneton's throwing at it, so he's going to be forced to switch out. And McMeghan takes the opportunity to do the same, get in his own Celebi, and now he's going to be able to set up a Swords Dance and start threatening that Suicune once again with the +2 Celebi, though he does decide to just go for the Shadow Ball instead. Get that 11% damage, but over time that's not going to be doing a whole lot, as he now makes a prediction on Cyberodin's potential switch-ins and goes for the Hidden Power Fighting instead. But this does give the opportunity for the Suicune to get up to +1/+1, though a Swords Dance from Celebi is going to match that, but unfortunately it is roared away. And now the Skarmory comes in, and that's not going to be doing a whole lot to the Suicune. So he's going to have to just switch in his Starmie. That does resist the Surf, but it does not threaten the Suicune back too heavily unless it's running Thunderbolt, which isn't a move that's seen super commonly in advance. Obviously it's around a little bit, and this just gives Suicune the opportunity to set up more Calm Minds. It's not really risking anything by staying in there. So he just goes for a Calm Mind there. The Blissey comes in and throws out a Toxic that's going to hit Fortress. And this match is really just sort of pivoting around right now. Each player is trying to get the minute advantages that come with getting the right switch-ins and getting the right hazard damage off. And this time, Cyberodin does go for the spikes as the Starmie comes in. And Starmie's just going to Rapid Spin those away, as I believe Rapid Spin does have a higher PP than spikes. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. It could be the same either, too, but either way, they're just going to do the Spikes battle for one turn, and then McMeghan makes a great prediction here. The second time around, he does not go for the Rapid Spin. He's able to hit the Gengar for 50% damage, and now that Gengar is going to be super worried about switching into the Starmie one more time, as one more Surf is going to kill it, so it's not going to be able to spin block at all later on in the game with that, unless it's able to get a little bit of Leftovers recovery in and recover its HP up a tiny bit. So Celebi goes for the Hidden Power there. As you can see, it was resisted by the Magneton, most likely going to be a Hidden Power Grass. And then second time around, he's going to go for the Psychic on McMeghan Celebi. Once again, we're getting a special defense drop there. So McMeghan's not going to be wanting to leave that Celebi in, as now we have a lot of difficulty dealing with the Suicune at -1 special defense. So instead, he elects to just switch in his Skarmory and get a little bit of, and soak up as much damage as possible, and at the same time get a couple layers up. And once again, the Fortress is in, and if McMeghan's ever really able to get the Magneton in on this, it'd be super critical for him, but instead he just decides to make the safe play, goes for the Whirlwind, sends in the Aerodactyl, and Aerodactyl's not going to be doing a whole lot to the Skarmory, so instead Brofist makes a smart switch in, gets in the Gengar, doesn't take anything from the Toxic there, and this time around he's going to go for the Focus Punch as Skarmory elects to protect there. So Focus Punch isn't going to be doing anything, and he's just going to be forced to make another prediction here to try to threaten McMeghan's team, as this time the Celebi is going to come in on the Focus Punch. McMeghan predicts correctly there, doesn't have to take an Ice Punch from the Gengar, and now Celebi is going to be able to threaten it with the Shadow Ball, and Cyberodin's just forced to switch out into his Suicune, which pretty much hard counters this Celebi when it's only sitting at +2. So he's going to be able to roar it away once again, though he's going to take a little bit of damage from that Hidden Power Fighting, and Celebi is going to be sent out into the Swampert. And this is going to give Cyberodin the chance to set up a couple Calm Minds, as the Swampert's not going to be doing anything back due to it being asleep. So a Calm Mind here, actually a Roar here from Cyberodin, and going to take damage on the Starmie and the Blissey as they both switch into spikes on that turn. But Cyberodin doesn't want to risk anything like a Toxic from this Blissey, so instead he decides to switch out into Celebi, which does decently against the Blissey, though obviously it has revealed that it has the Ice Beam. And if he's going to recover endlessly against Ice Beam, chances are eventually it's going to crit. As you see, it does do 46% damage to Celebi, so a crit would put it down extremely low. So just going to keep recovering and hope that McMeghan goes for a move besides Ice Beam, as Recover and Ice Beam do both have the same PP, so it's not like a huge deal, but you don't want to waste your Celebi recovers when you don't have to. So one more Ice Beam fired off into the Celebi. The Belgian Master is getting some damage in, and now he's going to make a prediction that Cyberodin is going to be switching his Fortress in, and his Magneton, in response is going to take one more hidden power there, and it's starting to get a little bit low, and its switch-ins are not super. It's going to have to be really careful about switching in the future, sitting at about 50% health with hazards up on McMeghan's side of the field. So this time around, Celebi is just going to go for the Shadow Ball against Cyberodin's Celebi, get a little bit of damage in on it, and at the same time it also hit the Suicune if it decided to switch in there. But instead, Cyberodin is going to make the decision to switch in his Fortress and try to get a little bit of hazards going up on McMeghan's side of the field. So McMeghan elects this time around to just start going for the Swords Dances. So that's one Swords Dance there. Going to be sitting at +2. Goes for another one here, sitting at +3 attack. And these Earthquakes from Cyberodin are attempting to catch the Magnezone in the switch-in, but instead he's just giving Celebi the opportunity to set up more and more Swords Dances. So finally does go for the Rapid Spin there, is able to get rid of the spikes and take him off his side of the field. But now he's in a very difficult situation, as he has allowed the Celebi to get up to +4 attack, and now his only real way of dealing with it is going to be using Explosion on it as he gets his third layer of spikes up. So this turn he's pretty much forced to use Explosion. So I'm kind of surprised that McMeghan decided to leave his Celebi in, as now if he's unable to get a spin off later on, it's going to have a ton of difficulty switching into the spikes. It's going to take 25% every single time. Though Aerodactyl does come in, goes for the double edge. Skarmory's not going to really be caring about that, only takes 22% health from it. So Skarmory's sitting there at 54% health, and he gets up a layer of spikes of his own as the Gengar is going to be coming in to threaten it out with something like a Thunderbolt. So now Skarmory's just going to go for the Protect, and the Thunderbolt is revealed. So this is going to be the Hypnosis Thunderbolt Ice Beam Focus Punch Gengar that does massive damage against everything McMeghan has to throw against it. McMeghan, though, does get up one more layer of spikes, and now spikes are going to be absolutely permanent for him, as Cyberodin has lost its spinner, and Skarmory is going to be the first casualty for McMeghan. Dies to the Ice Beam that turnaround, and now it's just Gengar against Starmie, and McMeghan is able to get the kill off with the Psychic, going to be able to take down the Gengar with that Starmie. And now Starmie's sitting pretty against this Aerodactyl, but unfortunately it gets critical hit. If I recall correctly, the critical hit was necessary for the kill there, so it could have been a dead Aerodactyl for Cyberodin. On the other hand, though, he is able to kill off that Starmie, and now he's got a pretty big advantage with this Suicune, though there obviously still is the Magnezone sitting out on McMeghan's team, and with a combination of Hidden Power Fire and Thunderbolt, it's going to be able to deal pretty effectively with everything Cyberodin still has left. So we just decided to start setting up with that Suicune, though these Seismic Tosses are doing a decent amount of damage on it, and this time he's going to go for the rest, as McMeghan throws out one more Seismic Toss into the Suicune, going to be sitting at 82% health. And another thing to remember with this matchup is Suicune has to be at +3 to not die from Magneton. If it's Magneton is switched in on the turn, it uses Rest, because Magneton can 3-hit with Thunderbolt when Suicune is sitting at +2. So yeah, but there's a HP Fire on that Celebi. Unfortunately, McMeghan does not get the roll. As you can see, it's doing a very significant amount of damage. Goes for 45 that second time around. So there's a chance that with a little bit of a higher roll on that first Hidden Power, Celebi switched in originally, it would have died. But Cyberodin realizes this is a losing matchup for his Celebi, so he takes the opportunity to get the Leech Seed off, get a little bit of health on his Aerodactyl, but now he's sitting at a 2-4 disadvantage, though McMeghan still has the well, not anymore. He used to have the Sleeping Swampert, I should say. Dies to the earthquake there. And now you see your best physical wall coming in. This Blissey against the Aerodactyl. Though it is able to threaten it and force it out, because I don't think the earthquake would be killing there. Ice Beam obviously would have. So now Suicune's going to come in, and it's just going to be forced to use a rest turn. So McMeghan's really trying right now. I apologize for the fireworks in the background. Everyone's deciding to celebrate the 4th a little bit early. Anyways, Suicune going to stay in, going to set up a couple Calm Minds. Blissey goes for the Seismic Toss, gets a little bit of damage on it, and just keeps trying to chip this down. But key here is that right now Suicune is not sitting at a range where it's going to be dying to a Seismic Toss, and it's able to get the +3 boost, and it's able to get up to the range that's going to be outside of Magneton KO range, as McMeghan does get the Magneton in on the Suicune. So he's going to have to roll a critical hit here at some point, or put it at the range of about 11% health, where Celebi is going to be able to finish it off. So Suicune burns its first turn of rest. These guys got to fucking stop with the fireworks. Kind of ruined the mood of the video, but anyways, Thunderbolt does 34% once again. So Suicune's going to be sitting at 48% health. So just one more Thunderbolt is only going to take it down to 17. Going to wake up there, going to be able to fire off the Surf into the Magneton, and after the Leftovers recovery is going to be sitting at 23% health. And as you saw earlier, a just naked Shadow Ball was only doing 11% to the Suicune. So now this looks like it's pretty much going to be wrapped up for Cyberodin, as McMeghan's going to have quite a little bit of trouble breaking through this Suicune, as he's just forced to recover up with the Celebi. And now he wants to try to get in a situation where he's able to get the Blissey to die due to hazards. I think this is the only way to win, actually, is to get Blissey to die due to hazards and kill the Suicune with a +6 Celebi while staying at full health, and then being able to survive the Aerodactyl the next turn around. But that is obviously a huge if. The other option, though, obviously, is just to Ice Beam freeze the Suicune, though that is not the highest % chance of happening. So instead, he decides to send Celebi in once again. But the issue is, this is the Roar Calm Mind Suicune. So switching Celebi in doesn't really accomplish a whole lot. He's able to get a Swords Dance off, and Suicune's just going to go for a couple more Calm Minds, as even at +6, I believe that a Shadow Ball is still only going to be doing about 40% damage. So Suicune feels pretty safe just to get up to +4, +6, and then just start the roaring game and just try to get these extra damages in on to McMeghan's Pokemon, as Cyberodin does pretty much have this on lockdown. So one more Surf into the Blissey. Gonna kill it with the Ice Beam as someone drives by in a motorcycle. Fucking stupid people. You know, I hope he was wearing a helmet, though. Anyways, so Surf used on the Blissey. In the future, I'm going to have to close my window because these outside noises are killing the vibes of the video, obviously. So, as you can see, though, Celebi is in against the Suicune. So if it's somehow able to bullshit its way to +6, and is then somehow able to bullshit its way with like a critical hit through these Suicunes and kill it when it's at full health, then we could still have a game on our hands. And we just saw the offensive GG, though, for Cyberodin. So obviously that means he's about to critical hit. As anytime you offensive GG, that means the critical hit is incoming. So thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. Got the new microphone, and we got more World Cup Pokemon action coming up. This has been IFM for IFMstudios. Make sure to like and subscribe, and check out my channel for all types of Pokemon content. IFM, out.